Jingle all the way. This is not getting better. Oh, hey guys. As you can tell, this is where I am today on decorating for the holidays. Ah, I hope you don't feel that way, but sometimes it gets like that, doesn't it? How to have happy holidays with dementia. That's what we're going to talk about because it is a challenge when we're dealing with a disease that's ever changing. And our loved one is ever changing, and as we lose the ability to communicate more, gets even more challenging. We got to be a better detective, don't we? And not someone to come in like a judge. So I thought this was most appropriate to talk with you guys about as we're entering into a holiday season. And it kind of doesn't matter what your traditions are, get-togethers with family can be challenging. And how do we have a balance there? So let's go ahead and bring up the slides. Happy holidays with dementia. That's the goal. How to have a happy holiday. So that's what we're going to talk about. So, how do you celebrate holidays? Whether they're, a spiritual holiday, a family tradition, is it just an American holiday or a holiday from the country where you are? I'm excited that there are people from all over the world here. And so, what are you celebrating next? What's on your agenda? It takes planning, though, doesn't it? Because our person living with dementia, they aren't as much help in the planning part. And so that puts a little more challenge on us, but we can figure it out. I hope today that you'll walk away with some tips on how to have a happier holiday. Okay. So, with your holiday tradition, do you have people to your home? Is it a big meal? Do you go somewhere? Do you go to a place of worship? I think we all have different traditions. And isn't that cool that we can do that? And I love that. And whether your family is big or small, it seems like those things are ever changing, evolving almost. I know when my mom was going through her dementia, my gosh, there were 8 children in my family. Then there were the spouses and their children and their children's children. You see the point? And my dad was insistent on keeping with the tradition of having everyone come to our home at least one day during the big holiday season. And so we had to plan well. So we're going to talk about how we got through that, and what were the great challenges, and then what were the great techniques in order to try and still have a happy holiday with dementia. Okay, so um, what are the potential holiday challenges? And I think probably right off the bat, you can see when I was talking before is that overstimulation, right? Because having them be out of their normal routine and having maybe people there that they're not familiar with. And how do we go about that? I mean, have you ever thought, if you really have a person living with dementia and they're still very physically able and in their own home and they have their routines and it's doable, sometimes we actually need to give the guests a heads up on how we're going to do dementia. Have you ever thought of that? Well, tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of things on how to do it. The thing we need to keep in mind is that it's still a chronic debilitating disease, and we hate that part, but it is unpredictable, right? And it's going to affect everyone differently. So your person is going to be different than my person. Like Teepa Snow says, if you know one person with dementia, guess what? You know one person with dementia because they're all a little bit different. Because maybe your person has these type of illnesses that are on the side, comorbidities, we call those back, for a nurse. And so, are they a diabetic, high blood pressure? Are they wheelchair bound at this point, like my mother, or are they really physically able and they're heading out the door, like it or not? And so we got to plan for those things. Overstimulation can really add to agitation, and you've probably seen that. I think overstimulation for me adds to agitation too. I had someone the other day talking about behaviors, and I'm like, I think I have behaviors. I mean, don't we all have behaviors? Um, I mean, because teaching a class at 9, 10 in the morning, I wouldn't be near as good at 9, 10 at night. It just wouldn't work for me. And so sometimes I think we say these people have behaviors, and I just want to say, well, let's look at the bigger picture. What really is going on? Not only are they tired, but they got a brain that's not functioning well. And I'm a grace giver. So I'm going to try and be a great detective and try and figure out more about what's going on with our person, your person, my person, the neighbor's person. a relative that you go and sit with some days to help give the family member a break. But we all know overstimulation for any of us can lead to agitation, but the understimulation, yeah, definitely can lead to depression. I had a gentleman who kept his wife at home. He kept her so safe. She had great caregivers. She had all the meals, great meals and activities at home, and she was safe, safe. But she had been a real social butterfly, and now she was safe. And he came to me and he said, I'm thinking I'm maybe not doing this right. And I'm wondering if she would do better in like a group home. He had found a place nearby where there were 5, 6 other women who lived there. And wow, they just enjoyed they did so many great activities, one of which was quilting. And she loved quilting. And she was still physically able, her hands were still working well. And I gotta tell you, after he moved her in there a couple months afterwards, it's always bumpy when we change someone's living location, but I'm telling you, in this particular case, she settled right in, developed a relationship with these other gals, and, the activity and the stimulation was actually very positive for her. The sad thing was when we went to visit, she didn't know him as her husband, she kinda was back in time, but she knew there was this nice man that came and had lunch with her every day. And, he was willing to sacrifice that in order to not just have her be depressed, sitting in their home, safe. I don't know what your situation is. I don't wanna tell you what to do, not knowing your situation, but I'm just saying every situation is gonna be different, right? Because if you've met one person with dementia, you have met one person with dementia. So here's some more challenges that might occur with dementia. I know the traditions of the holidays can really bring a crazy effect on people. So many demands, because if you really dig into all the traditions and all the places to go and all the different holiday events and the shopping and the planning and the cleaning and the baking, not only is there expense, but you run out of time. And if your lights don't work, like ours, um, I don't know. We definitely can have unreasonable expectations for ourselves and our person living with dementia. And we got to make good choices, guys. And so it's frequently time to step back and reevaluate. And it won't be the same year to year. Some folks getting a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or frontotemporal, whatever it is, vascular dementia in particular, those folks, if they don't have a lot of other illness going on the side, they can live a very long time. I've read up to 30 years for some of the people with vascular dementia if you get their blood pressure under control and their cardiovascular system is working well. And so that's a lot of planning, but it's going to be different year to year. And who has to make changes on how we do things? That's right, we do. We do. I've certainly said that enough. So, whose needs are we serving with these traditions? Is it the person living with dementia? Is it ours? And should the goal be to endure it? Because I've sat down with some families that felt that way. They felt like, well, you just get through it. And I wanted to say, no, you don't have to just get through it. And I don't think just holding on, onto the roller coaster ride, I don't think holding on to the little rail in front of you is necessarily the best strategy to go about loving someone through these traditions. Um, on the flip side, I had a gal who just said, "We're checking out. We're checking out for the season." And I said, "Okay." I had another family who decided to break it up, and they would allow 2 or 4 couples to come by every weekend so that it was less stim and it was doable. And I thought, what a great choice. What a great way to change things up and make it work. So don't be afraid to change things up. Think outside the box, do things differently. I don't want you to just endure it. Okay. And it really can't be just about the person living with dementia or just about you. We got to have a balance there. We got to strike a balance. And I've told you before that eventually everyone will need to bring in help. If you're caring for someone with dementia at home, you will eventually need help, or your person will go somewhere else to live, and the way we care for them will change. And that's okay. That's okay. Your situation is going to be different than the next guy. It's okay. But I spoke about a couple weeks ago, have your plan B ready because you never know when something surprises us and is going to happen. And all of a sudden we're thrown into plan B. And I don't want your person getting just picked up and placed somewhere an hour away because we didn't plan. I want you to have the time to go look at these places, talk to the people, smell the smells, right? Walk around, see what things are going on. I like to go in off hours and just really check things out. And so know your plan B. I don't want you to endure the holidays. Okay. My holiday tradition, in a large family like that, you can imagine and I married my high school sweetheart. And so, it was to his home for their family, their traditions, holiday traditions, and then my family's holiday traditions. And then you're trying to set up your own holiday traditions, aren't you? And some of those fall by the wayside if you're caring for someone with dementia. But you need a balance. I would try and have conversations and try and figure it out. We'll talk about that. So, as we investigate solutions, I think if the person is still living at home, we need to rethink the way we're doing this for sure, for sure. And maybe it needs to be smaller, less stressful. Um, how can we make it easier on the family? First of all, I would recommend that we do it at a different time of day. I know our home tradition where my mom was typically a dinner and evening event, but that can be challenging. That can be really challenging if that person gets tired. And if she was used to going to bed 9 o'clock and that process took an hour, you couldn't expect her to get through an evening with lots of people in her home and in her space. But how can we do this to make it less stressful, more enjoyable, and easier on the family? I saw this quote once, and I like to put it in here that the best generals win because they choose their battlefields wisely. Are you choosing your battlefields? Are you just walking into where the mines are just there and you're hoping you don't step on the wrong thing? I really want you to choose your battles wisely. It'll be better for you and it'll be better for the person you're loving through this journey. All right. So think about that. And if you have to pull back and do less, let's do that. Sometimes we have to retreat, and regroup. And that's okay. All right. So, how about we have a family meeting and talk about these traditions? What are a must? What can what's open to change? Do you include your person living with dementia in a family meeting like this? Well, I think it's going to be different for every situation. There are some people who have awareness of their challenges with dementia. They know they're declining. They're aware. And, and then there are some that don't have awareness and they don't see it. And so they're paranoid, suspicious, and every change is going to worry them. What are you doing? What are you up to? And what are you trying to do? They can be always right, never wrong, and always the victim. That can make it really challenging for you guys. Okay. And so I want you to really think hard about whether your person living with dementia, mom, dad, husband, sister, whatever it is, whether they should be involved in this planning, or if after you make the plans, then you have a conversation with them about some new traditions we're going to try this year, something like that. So, let's see what's open to change. Think about the traditions we've discussed. What are a must? What are a should? And what are, well, but I could, how can we simplify? You need to ask for help. Let go of your ego. I know you've been the one to cook the dinner for 14 people for all these years and, the beautiful set table and all this stuff. Guess what? We can change that up. And there are people who will help if we just ask them, right? I know it because I've been there. And maybe you can have someone else cook the main course, or have everybody bring sides and you just make, the main course, something like that. Or maybe the person who hosts it, maybe they don't do any food at all. Have you ever thought of that? I've been in situations like that. That's cool. So they just clean their house and everybody comes. They set the table. That would be great. All right. But at large events, let's assign different people. We had to do this at our family tradition with my mom. And she was someone who did not have awareness. She was the paranoid, suspicious, never wrong, always the victim. And so you had to be very careful not to let her get too tired or too agitated. And so it was important to have someone one on one with her late in the disease. And we did that. We're a big family. We broke it up into shifts. And so she always had one of the kids at her side. And if you could tell she was starting to get agitated, and occasionally she would, she'd say, "We gotta get the heck out of here." And I'm like, "I know, it's too loud in here anyway." And what have I taught you in the past? We validate their position, accept and agree, right? And de-escalate by going with the flow. And I would say, "Yeah, let's go get our coats." Well, the funny thing was that we were at her house and the coats are in her bedroom on her bed. And so that all made sense to her. Let's go get your coats. But she wasn't putting all the dots together that we were headed to her room. So I would push her wheelchair in her room and get her something to drink, put on some music, and let her get a break. Maybe she needs to use the bathroom. You got to be a great detective. What is she needing right now, that she needed to get away from that? It could just be she needed a break from the overstimulation, from too many people, too many grandkids, too many screeches, and, people having fun, laughter. It's a good thing. But when you have dementia, it really can be too much. Or have you thought about when you have hearing aids? Having hearing aids, depending on the hearing aid, some of those noises are super difficult. And if you talk to people that wear hearing aids that don't have dementia, they can tell you what is enjoyable and what is not. I remember taking my dad to a restaurant once, and it was loud in there. The acoustics were pretty terrible. And he was ready to leave before the food came because the way his hearing aids were, he really had to turn them way down in order just to endure it. So that wasn't great. So I won't go back there, but mark that down. But it's another thing to take into consideration. I'm always telling you we have to think outside the box. Okay. So I really want you to assign a different family member to be with your loved one and keep an eye on them, engaging them, talking to them, not talking around them, talking over them. But you know what else I would do is I would say, this is this is Sharon. She's Mike's wife. And just give her a heads up for people just so she knew, who was who. And of course, on the flip side, we would encourage the guests, even if they were kids or grandkids, to introduce themselves. Okay. Well, the kids pretty much, she usually did pretty good with that. But the distance family, the on down the line, she would have trouble with. There were just too many of us, right? These big families. And so it's good though if you are having friends come over to give them a heads up before the party. Maybe send them a postcard, or an email nowadays, and let them know that Joe's got this. Um, it would be great if you would introduce yourself when you came in. Don't ask questions. Just pay him a compliment as soon as you come in. Joe might be walking around the house from the front door, through the kitchen, through the dining room, back to the front door. He likes doing that, but he does that when he's nervous. Please don't question him about it. Just let him do this. It's his way of getting through some anxiety, and we don't care. It's all right. But I hope that you will introduce yourself again and give him a compliment when you come in, or maybe say, "Joe, my bowling buddy. Hey, so great to see you. You still hold the record down there at the lanes on 4th Street. And can you pay him a compliment?" He doesn't have to respond, but you might get a smile out of it. Okay. Just a nice compliment back in time, and helps him maybe have a connection to how you two are connected. Okay. But we need to know when they need quiet time. That's the benefit of having someone with your person, paying attention all the time. Look for restlessness, irritability, or what else they might need. They might be thirsty, hungry, need to go to the bathroom, like I said. We don't want to wait till the table flips over. And, sometimes if we're not paying attention, the agitation can really climb, or they might stomp their walker and demand to know what's going on here. Okay, for a lot of people, the party's over at that point, and I don't want that to happen to you. So make sure you have someone one-on-one with your person if they are at a point in their disease where they have little understanding of what's going on and maybe little control of how they might react to a situation. So, but keep in mind, have they eaten? Have they gone to the bathroom? What else could it be? What do you have in your back pocket to bring them joy? And maybe you remove them from the big party environment and take them to a familiar place, get them a drink of some sort, something that they enjoy, and maybe just engage in some conversation until they may be ready to join the crowd again. Sometimes my mom was ready. Sometimes I just put her to bed. And that was okay too. All right. We got to let some things go. Okay. Put yourself first. Yeah, you guys, you people that like to do it all. I know these daughters who are fixers and can take care of everything, or some of you sons too. I know who you are. I've been there. And I know you want everything to be perfect. And you give and you give and you give, but you're not taking yourself to the gym, or you're not, taking care of your own health needs. You're not, walking or eating right, getting your water, getting your sleep. We're learning so much more about brain health and how sleep is so, so important. So we need to plan for healthy snacks, right? And incorporate ways to get good physical health. We got to do it. And you need a break every now and then. It is completely okay to step away from the situation. As long as your person is safe, step away. I was talking to a woman this week, and her loved one is getting more and more irritable about her showering him. And so, guys, if it gets to a point where that isn't working anymore, or maybe your mom never wanted you to shower her, okay, well, you know what? That's something we're going to either have to hire somebody in, or it's time for them to go to a community where that will happen. That doesn't mean you fail in any way, shape, or form. Can I reassure you of that? It's just the situations will be different. Your gifts and talents are different from the next guy, what you're able to do for them. But the cool thing is, you can hire in someone to do that for you. Okay. And don't forget this important point. People living with dementia frequently, they're hardest on the people closest to them. That might be you, but they're frequently hardest on the people closest to them, and they will do for a stranger what they won't do for you most of the time. Most of the time. What? Absolutely. So I've coached lots of families about that. We also don't tell them when the person is arriving. If they don't have awareness of their disease, because they're not going to think they need any help anyway. We might have to blame it on the doctor, that the doctor's requiring this now. We one time told a woman that the government now, she had just turned 75. And once you're 75, the government requires you to have a caregiver in twice a week in order to get Medicare. Yeah, that was a fib. But then we just blame it on the government, and who's she going to call and complain about that? But you're on her team. I know. Can you believe this? Well, let's see what this person's made of. I bet they're going to send us a good one, but we'll check them out and just be on their team, connected at the hip. Okay, be on their team. If they're upset about it, be as upset as they are, and then redirect that. Okay. Um, let's see. Next one. It's important for family and friends to understand your situation and have realistic expectations. So it's good to communicate like I suggested in the beginning, but the fact is not everyone will get it. Not everyone will get it. It's typically the out of town family members who don't really realize how bad mom or dad is. And that's because people living with dementia frequently can have what's called idle chit chat, just a friendly chatting conversation ready to go on the right side of their brain. Hi, good. Yeah, you? Uh huh, sure. All right, good. Nice to talk with you. Nice to see you, or whatever it is. Idle chit chat. Kind of like with the doctor. No, I'm doing fine. I'm fine. Yeah, good. Mm-hmm. Okay, idle chit chat. And so sometimes the people that are out of town and aren't living the dream with you um, in the same house or on those same hours that you're there, they sometimes don't see the same picture. And that's why sometimes a Zoom call with me is important so we can help get the whole family on the same page as to what's going on, get all the family members on the same page using great techniques on how to come alongside and love mom. But it's true that not everybody in your family will understand what's really going on. And I mean, if I this is the funniest thing, been a nurse forever and had a decade of decline with my mom. And I'll tell someone that I'm a dementia specialist, what I do. I'm always learning for sure. And they'll say, yeah, I understand dementia. My grandma had that. And I'll think, oh boy, what a load question. Because just because we had dinner at grandma's, a few times when we were a kid and she was forgetful, boy, to understand dementia, I learned that all the hard way. I learned it, when I thought I knew it too, guys, and I got kicked out of the blankety blank house. So let's just talk about some tools to have, and then we'll wrap up for today, guys. So I think it's good to have a list of mom's favorite things and the things that irritate her. And many of you, having cared for this loved one over a period of time, my goodness, even if it's been a few months, you know the things that bring her joy and you know the things that make her aggravated. And so sometimes it's good if you're having caregivers come in or if you're having friends or family members volunteer to sit with mom. Wouldn't it be great to have a list like this? It says she likes strawberry ice cream. She likes to watch Cary Grant movies. She likes to sing Amazing Grace. She likes puzzles with big pieces. She likes petting that cat, even though it's got batteries in it. She loves her pink sweater and looking at photo albums, but she doesn't want to talk about the news. She doesn't want to talk about losing dad. She doesn't want her room cooler than 75. This is a big one. Those of you that are trying to pinch a penny and keep that thermostat at 70 degrees, let it go. Let it go. I'm telling you, you can cause a person to be agitated and they can't even verbalize why, but it's because the room is always too cold. I would do a test. Crank that up to 75. I mean, people most people, like it closer to 80. Can I just be honest with you? And for a couple of bucks, I'm probably gonna give into that because that's some agitation that I just don't wanna deal with. Or you'll see them layer up. They'll have all kinds of layers of clothes on. They're cold all the time. Most people. Most people. I can't say everybody. Most people. Okay. Um, she doesn't want to answer lots of questions. Please tell her stories, happy stories, not the bad wreck that happened on the interstate. Tell her happy stories. You find some she likes, use them over and over again, right? If she has short-term memory challenges, she doesn't love to shower, but she'll sponge bathe for you, and she doesn't want to be startled. None of us do. Don't startle her. Don't come up from behind or from the side and startle her. They lose peripheral vision. You startle her and get the dukes up. Wow, you've just started off that conversation on the wrong foot. And it can take you a while to reconcile that and get her back to a happy place before you can move on with maybe what we were intending to do today. But don't try and move on with your tasks if you've startled her and upset her. It's not going to go well. Okay, guys. Um, this advice for the care partners. Listen up, guys. Those of you that are caring for someone, you need this advice. We need to acknowledge your feelings. Are you hurt? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling like you don't get to do anything that your friends are doing? Is this not what your retirement was supposed to look like? Is this not where we were going to spend the money in our retirement years? We were supposed to be traveling the world. And then he got sick or she got sick. We had to deal with these things, guys. Those things will stew inside you and cause illness. They'll cause you to be sick. Maybe we need to even seek counsel. Hey, it's a good thing, but we need to acknowledge our feelings that we're tired, when we're lost, and, maybe we can't afford to bring help in. Okay, well, there are social workers to talk to. We've got to figure it out. We've got to figure it out. Okay, reach out to family, community, social support, or home care for support. What's interesting? I found out that a couple of neighbors were willing to come over and sit with my mom. I mean, in the middle of the day when she just wanted to look out at the bird feeder, but I needed someone there to give my dad a break, just to sit and visit, maybe look at a photo album or do a puzzle. She didn't need to be changed, didn't need anything. There were neighbors or cousins. There were cousins who were willing to come do that. My mom's nieces were willing to come. They still come and see my dad now. It's wonderful. But there are people out there who will support if we'll just ask. It's worth asking. Okay. Encourage care partners to be realistic. Okay? Listen, you cannot watch 3 grandchildren 5 days a week and care for your mom who needs full care. No way. No way, Jose. This will take you down. All right. I just want you to be honest, be realistic. It won't be perfect. Let it go. Maybe the house won't be as clean as you want it to be. Sometimes we need to let that go. Maybe your hair isn't all, maybe you haven't been to your hairdresser and had your highlights put in a long time. I don't know. I don't know what your goals and dreams are, but let's get help. Let's seek help. But as far as, thinking you can do it all, we got to let that go. Learn to say no. That little word, no. Learn to say no. Um, and I would say just one little tidbit in there, you may need to avoid traveling later in the disease with your person living with dementia. Those can turn into big train wrecks for you. And I don't want that to happen. I know there are families, especially the out of town family members, who think they can come pick up mom, whisk her away for a week or two at the beach. And I'm telling you, if they have not been spending time with mom, they don't know what works and doesn't work. They don't know her routines. Oh boy, I've watched some of those things really spiral out of control. And then I'm getting a call from the beach house going, now what do we do? So don't let that happen. Come and visit at her home. You know what's really good? Come in and stay a week and give your sibling who's been here caring for mom a break. What? I know it'd be huge. It would be huge. And but it's good to have a realistic idea of what's going on so that you can really be good help. Okay. All right, guys. As families grow and change, traditions will too. Let go of some things. Okay, guys. Hold on to a couple traditions and let go of the other ones. As I now empty nester, kids are all grown, everybody's married with kids, things are changing. You know, they don't come here to set up for, the holiday or decorate a tree, and that's what I'm working on. It's something we do. And so, but it changes. Maybe it's not going to be that much decorations. But it's going to change, and that's okay. Maybe I'm going to travel to see them. That's okay. All right, let go of the rest. Create new type of traditions. Have you thought about online visits? We have the FaceTime thing now. We can do online visits, exchange pictures instead of gifts. What a great idea. Do that, okay? Because it'll cut the cost. That's a great idea. But let's seek professional help when we need it. Don't wait until it's too late. Seek professional help. Seek counsel before things get really out of hand. All right, guys. This is Teresa Youngstrom. My company's A Better Approach to Memory Care. And this podcast is Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. I know you've been liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. Please continue that. We just really want to spread this information around the world. So please don't forget to subscribe. And as always, keep in mind, I want to give a shout out to Griffo Productions, my super great broadcaster. Thanks so much, Griffo. You're the best. And just keep in mind, guys, every day, you got this.